What's going on, guys? Hope you are doing well. It is 6:16 p.m. Central Standard Time where I'm at. I just wanted to cover a couple of charts: S&P 500, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, and ETH versus Solana as well. ETH versus Bitcoin. Might as well on that. But anyway, nothing much has changed in regards to the S&P 500. I'm zoomed in at the 4-hour time frame. I'm noticing a rising channel pattern, which is inherently a bearish pattern. Usually how these work is price, whoops, wrong tool. Let me, whoops, my goodness. Technical difficulties. Sorry about that. Okay. Usually price just kind of like rides up until it breaks down. That's usually how these work. So I would much rather this break inside the confines of this structure to maybe retest the 3872 zone. That would be ideal in a perfect world, but I don't make the I don't make the rules. But yeah, ultimately that's kind of like what I'm hoping for. Rising channels ultimately do break to the downside, so I have to be cautious at this time. So I'll be completely honest with you. I do not invest anything into the S&P 500. I kind of see it as more so a barometer for the crypto markets. That's where a lot of my time and investment is actually. I don't like traditional stocks. I don't believe in stocks. They're highly inflationary. You know, a company could easily just go and it's like, hey, we're going to double the supply of our assets. That's what literally Tesla's done. That's what Apple's done and stuff like that. So, and it's completely legal. They could just dilute the supply at any time that they want. So, same thing with some cryptos, right? If they have inflationary mechanisms built in, but usually they're not on a whim kind of supply increases. They're usually programmatically installed to where it's like, okay, yeah, you can expect an inflation rate of like 5% a year or 3% a year, or it's variable depending on the nodes that are actually operating the network, etc., etc. So that's why I like crypto, because it's more programmatic. It's less human decision and more so code is law. So that's why I'm a big fan of cryptos as opposed to traditional stocks, but you cannot argue that the majority of investors are still in traditional finance, and market sentiment within traditional finance eventually does bleed to crypto. All right, so now I'm going to get into crypto. I'm going to go into specifically Bitcoin. I've kind of moved some of my items around, so it's taking me a little longer to kind of get a better semblance of what's going on. All right, so I addressed this in my Discord channel, or well, in the Discord channels I'm active in, that we are kind of like in this sideways range. We have been kind of bouncing within the confines of this range. So my thesis has been pretty correct. I'll be completely honest with you that I've been saying, and you can go back to my previous videos, that usually what happens is we get a parabolic pump to the upside. Okay, we break the structure, then we go sideways for a little while, and then ultimately we dump and retrace. That's kind of like what I'm expecting. I'll be completely, uh, you know, uh, upfront with you all in regards to what I'm expecting. I'm expecting sideways until we ultimately get a decision. Either we break above this red box and we continue to the upside, or we break below this area. Now, 28.3 was my initial standpoint right here, but as you can see, we wicked above that. So 28.3 isn't necessarily the zone that I was thinking that it was. In actuality, it is at this level at 28.7. Okay, so let me turn on my indicator here, my sideways indicators here, my Bollinger Bands, etc. It's going to get a little bit more wonky, but you'll see where I'm coming from with all of this additional data. So I'm on the 24-minute time frame right now. I'm a fan of the 24-minute time frame because it actually precedes the 4-hour time frame. So for traditional markets, I'll be completely frank with you that traditional traders, they usually trade on the daily chart. Okay, they trade on the daily chart, or they'll trade on the weekly chart. They hardly ever trade no lower than the 4-hour chart. So that's why, as a fan of crypto, I have to let you know that the 4-hour chart I hold near and dear to my heart. So there's been some calculations and such like that. So the 24-minute time frame has been calculated as kind of like a precursor to the 4 hours. So that's why I like to look at the 37-minute time frame and the 24-minute time frame, because the 37-minute time frame precedes the 1 hour chart and the 24-minute time frame precedes the 4 hour chart. So those are the two main time frames I'm looking at. Keep in mind, this is my scalping chart, so I like scalping on this particular chart. I do have swing trading charts. I do have stuff that's more long term, but I like to show this stuff because, you know, not a lot of people really go into the nitty gritty of intraday stuff. They kind of just like rely on the weekly charts or like the daily charts, and, you know, crypto's so volatile, so it's kind of irrelevant unless you're like thinking from a seasonal standpoint, right? So it's like, oh, okay, what am I going to invest into this spring? You know, what am I going to invest into this winter? You know, like it's not conducive to like intraday stuff, so that's why I like to look at that stuff. Anyway, all right, so within the 24-minute time frame, I kind of did indicate that there was a trend line to watch, which was right here. I did delete it, but I'm going to put it back on. So this was acting as support for some time. I'm going to delete this and put it back on later. So once we got this break right here, as you can see, the whale started manipulating the price. Once we got that trend line break, we had a pretty significant bear whale come in and just short the market. And they gave you time. They gave you time. On the 24-minute time frame, we had this candle close breakdown right here. Bull's exuberance was trying to break back above the 9 and 21 exponential moving average, was not able to. Confirmed old support as new resistance. Then we kind of just wicked here periodically and such. Since then, it's been, you know, sideways and down. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. I am now seeing this line as resistance at this time, and it is back below this bigger line right here. I'm going to turn it yellow so you can actually see what I'm saying. This has been choppy AF. This has been kind of like the heart line of current price action, but realistically, we are still in this box range right here. Resistance box right here, we got support box. But pretty much, zooming out, I'm going to go to like the 4 hour, for example, which is 4 hour resistance. So since January, essentially this line has been acting as resistance. So we got, hold on, sorry. We got resistance, 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 okay? So this has a long history within this year of being substantial resistance, okay? You come back here, we have it as resistance, and price is trying to actually break it. We've actually had 4 hour candle closes confirm above it, but we haven't been able to sustain the rally. Of is that? Because actually this particular level, if you zoom out on a, well, I could just use the 4 hour. The daily is kind of messy. But if you zoom out right here into this particular area, this area is getting back tested as resistance for the first time. All right, we never, when price broke down here, it was just a clean dump all the way to the downside. Okay, it was just a clean dump all the way down to the downside. And I guess in this current price action here, which is the lows of the low of the market, pretty much since June of 2022, you know, price has not been able to backtest this as resistance, and I think now is the time it's going to do that. Is it going to reverse the entire market all the way to the downside? No, I don't believe that's the case at all. But I do think that there is some onus to be had in respecting this area as resistance, because it's never been backtested until this time. So there will be choppy price action, and that's exactly what we've been seeing. So if you line up with the horizontal resistance with this upward sloping resistance line, it makes a lot of sense as to why you can assume that price is going stagnant and eventually going to reverse to, in my opinion, create a higher low than the previous low. And at this time, that low is right here. So as long as we close candles above basically 20K, we're going to be okay. this is still structurally sound in terms of a macro bull market festering. Okay, but you have to take in consideration this ascending broadening wedge did break to the downside. It has been. Um, yeah, and realistically, and I said this in previous videos, the Bollinger Bands are now tightening. You got to respect them as support and resistance. So I'm going to turn off the market liberator indicators so you just see the Bollinger Bands right here. And I'm going to turn off support and resistance. As you can see here, on the 4-hour time frame, the Bollinger Bands have been respected as support and resistance. And it actually aligns with this channel that I've scoped out here, which is obviously support and resistance right here. So until I see something of significance in regards to trend, I can't be ultimately leaning bullish at this time. That pump did kind of make me reconsider. We'll be completely honest, but at the end of the day, there was no follow through. It was a pump, and then it was a dump. So we'd have this bearish engulfing candle right here acting as resistance, and if you zoom in ever so slightly, it's a slightly lower high. Look how close it was. This bullish candle that freaked everybody out, including me, this was a slightly lower high than the previous high. That is indicative of a fresh downtrend. I know it's ever so slight, but guess what? Since then, we've only had downward price action. So, and further confirmations with the 24-minute time frame trend line breaking to the downside. Also, we got that yellow X on the 24-minute time frame indicating that the bears are getting more confident in opening up their short positions, and since then we have been going down. Now I want to see exactly the reaction here, so if you zoom in ever so closely, we had to the T a bounce at support. Okay, so I want to see how powerful that is. Is it more so kind of just a dead cat bounce, or are we going to get some follow through? So going back to current trend, I'm going to delete this since it's already kind of played out. I'm going to go to the 4-hour time frame because it currently is the most developed trend, if you ask me. The hourly looks choppy. Maybe the 2-hour you could argue, but at this time we do have this line of resistance that has decided to show itself, and we must rejoice because it is making the trend that much more clear. Okay, so here you go. On the hourly time frame, it actually lines up really well on the hourly as well. Wow, interesting. I guess I wasn't doing my due diligence on the 1 hour. But that's great. Okay, so at this time, we do have this downward sloping trend line kind of in action at this time. So as long as I see price below this area, I have to be bearish. Now, if trend does something like this, where it comes back down, breaks, back tests at a support, then continues upward, that would be nice. That would be nice for a scalp long position. At this time, realistically, what could happen is the exact opposite. Is we get resistance, and then a breakdown. Okay, if I see a breakdown below this box area, that will be very, very bearish for the market. Ultimately, I'm a long-term buyer, so I don't really give a crap. I much rather price go lower so I can buy back in cheaper. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of the crypto industry. I do think it is the future of modern finance, and the more that I can accumulate, the better. So lower prices, I don't fear lower prices. I rejoice when I see lower prices. Now, obviously, other projects might not necessarily want lower prices. I completely understand that. But as an investor, speaking selfishly as an investor, I don't mind price action going back to say 23K or back to 25.3K. So I did some Fibonacci extensions. This is the 618 Fibonacci level, and this is a 318 Fibonacci level. And those are the most common areas of a breakdown retrace. So I want to see exactly what happens here in conjunction with this downward sloping trend line right here. Currently, that is the only thing that is defined, topside resistance. We don't have slanted support just yet, but we do have horizontal support still holding up, so that's something I am keeping my eye on, but there is a pretty obvious downward trend developing within that dotted red line that I just recently added to the chart. All right. So I'm going to move on to Ethereum. I think that was pretty good. Well, you know what? I'm going to go one more here. Okay, so actually on the 1 hour time frame, we are seeing money flow starting to go red. Now, we do have a developed wave right here, so this is rather interesting, but usually when that happens, if you can go back all the way here, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's over. We could get some exuberance. Sorry, we could get like an exuberant bounce like this. Theoretically, we could be, you know, like somewhere around here, right? Where we could get a wave, okay, and a divergence, a bullish divergence coming soon, right? But we bounce off of the Bollinger Bands, we lose the exponential moving averages as support once again, we gain stagnant, validating resistance, continue downward. So realistically, we could be in the beginning stages of such another phase. So that's another reason why I am more so bearish than bullish. Today's price action that confirmed that just much more in that favor. Also, as you can see, the Bollinger Bands are still kind of bullish looking. They haven't necessarily turned red, kind of like how they did over here. So I do feel like the downtrend is still just beginning, because usually in downward trends, the Bollinger Bands they turn red and they kind of stay red for a little while. So that's why I still feel like, yeah, we still have time to set up short positions if that is the case. Now, my confirmation for that would be a break of structure of this support box. I feel that much more confident. Like a break of structure and then a back test as resistance to then continue lower. It's in this phase right here where I will consider short positions. At this time, I'm kind of just watching the market and letting price action come to me as opposed to me chasing price action. All right, so now I'm done with Bitcoin. I'm going to go with Ethereum. All right, Ethereum, similar concept here. I'm going to delete this line right here. I think I have the Fibonacci levels, but they're a little outdated because now we have a new wick high, which is up here, right there. Okay, so now the exponentials are showing red at this time. The 382 is now over here, so I'm going to go sideways like this. All right. So similar concept, we had an ascending broadening wedge here with Ethereum. It broke to the downside. It's been back tested as resistance. Literally right here is actually more exuberant than Bitcoin's, funny enough. But ultimately, yeah, it has not only did it break structure multiple times, but it's actually back tested and confirmed it as resistance. So that's something that should be respected. So from the 1 hour time frame, it looks like price action has lost the 786 as support and is now getting back tested as resistance here. Usually when that happens, like, it's a fair shake that we're actually going to see some price action back down to the 618. So interestingly enough, we did break out of an ascending broadening wedge. I'm sorry, a descending broadening wedge here. This is actually a bullish pattern, thank goodness. But yeah, as you can see here, I'm going to turn this support area thick and I'm going to turn it yellow. So I actually do see this yellow line as downward sloping support. So if anything were to happen, say if price would continue to the downside, I would expect reactions to initiate here in this level. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna yeah, just for the sake of color scheme, I don't want you assuming the wrong thing, so I'm going to delete everything that I just did. Well, yeah. Alright, so I would expect like a bounce somewhere in this particular area. But when price action gets closer to this yellow line, if it does even end up going that low, I would consider opening up a long position because it's already been back tested as support right here. So you can bet your bottom dollar that those same traders will be considering this area as some long-standing support to respect. Ultimately, it won't. Price might not even get to that level because we have the 618 right here, but the this area could actually be a pivot point, or it could be a pivot point here too at the 618 down here. Or I'm sorry, the 0.382. The 0.382. I think I said the 0.318 or something like that, but I meant the 0.382 Fibonacci level. Okay, so as I'm seeing this sideways price action kind of develop, I'm feeling that much more bearish for price to continue even lower. I will be kind of keeping, watch of this area right here of this blue box. It might be kind of developed and established. I'm not too sure, given that we did have this exuberant dump below this area, but I do feel like this particular zone at current price action levels is kind of like a magnet. So I would not be opposed of seeing, Ethereum go back down to 1,550, maybe the low 1600s. But that's currently what I'm seeing with Ethereum. But I want to zoom in and go to, say, like a 4-hour time frame. The 4-hour time frame has confirmed a bearish cross. 21 minutes left to confirm that break to the downside. But essentially, yeah, it has been kind of in development. We've had multiple attempts of the bears to cross these exponential moving averages, and in this instance, we had another cross right here, but that bullish pump. Hold on, we did get a bullish pump here. Okay, right here. But that pump was not able to break back into the pattern and actually confirmed rejection. So, yeah, that's something where it was kind of like a red flag. I'm like, oh, okay, this rally isn't necessarily what it seems to be. Now, zoom in a day later, we are getting a confirmed bearish cross once again. Now, heading to a weekend. A lot of people like to take profits during the weekend, so that's something to watch out for. All right, so I'm actually going to go to Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance. Okay, then I'll go into an altcoin. So, Bitcoin looks to actually want to flip bullish. I'm sorry, Ethereum versus Bitcoin. On the 3-hour time frame, we are getting a buy signal, interestingly enough. Money flow is still thick in the red, so I would be very cautious. But ultimately, I do feel like this is pretty mature, and we might actually get a pump to ultimately create a lower high. I still feel like we are creating lower highs until we hit this price target, but I mean, it's pretty common for moves to underperform. So that's something to keep in consideration. But ultimately, the Bollinger Bands are tightening. That's usually indicative to a big move eventually happening. Momentum waves are starting to get a little higher than their previous lows. We did get this one right here. We got like a little mini trigger wave right here, but because Bollinger Bands are super tight, it might not mean anything in the long run. So we're getting another one here though, which is a lower instance than the previous. Let me go with the 4-hour on this one. Let's see what the 4-hour is showing. Wow. Okay, actually, yeah, this is actually pretty decent. I would make an argument that Ethereum's looking bullish versus Bitcoin. This is a nice development here. This is actually good for alts. Yeah, usually when ETH wants to outperform Bitcoin, the alts tend to outperform Bitcoin as well. Interesting. I haven't looked at Bitcoin dominance in a while. Oh, look at this development. That is so good. That is so good. Okay, yeah, I haven't looked at dominance in a little while, but we broke resistance. We broke this top side. Okay, now this is now flipped as support. Well, it could theoretically get flipped to support. Yeah, we got back test right here. Yeah, we got a back test as support right here. Interesting. So, at this time it does look overextended, but we could ultimately come back down and retest these levels right here. So I'm going to do a Fibonacci retracement level. Sorry, Fibonacci retrace right here. Bloop. Okay, I am looking at the 618 as a possible pivot area, or the 382. Now, because we already back tested the 382, I feel like the 618 is much more likely. So we could be experiencing a 3% dump in dominance. Now, this is really good for altcoins. Yeah, I would like to see that develop, frankly. That's something I'm definitely watching for. I'm going to be putting alerts and keeping my eye on dominance a little bit more than usual. All right, so all right, now I'm going to go into Solana. Solana. Where's Solana? Where is Solana? Is this Solana? Solana. No, I have a specific chart with Solana. Dang. I recently moved all these things around. And there it is. There you are. Yeah, I've recently moved all these things around, so it's a little bit difficult to find everything. All right, so yeah, we're losing the 618 as support. We have broken below support here. I did mention that this was considered a rising channel, and actually turned into a rising wedge. Ultimately, I do feel that we did break support, and we could theoretically come back down to the 618. Now, we did lose the 618 as support here, so that's rather interesting. We do have a lot of support here at the 20 mark, the $20 mark, so I'm keeping my eye out with that. Money flow is coming to the downside, so I don't feel necessarily confident that that can actually hold, to be honest. So realistically, the 382, the 382 Fibonacci level is my go-to spot to actually start accumulating Solana again. Yeah, for various reasons. Money flows coming to the downside. Momentum is showing lower lows than the previous wave right here. The exponential moving averages are starting to turn red. We're now breaking this structure, and yeah, it looks like lower is pretty much programmed here until proven otherwise. But yeah, ultimately I like either I short these positions, not financial advice, or I wait for them to consolidate and then find divergences. I like looking for divergences and confirmations of supports and all that kind of stuff. But as it stands, let me go to Market Liberator indicator, go down to say the 37-minute time frame here. Okay, so we did lose this box, and you'll see it really quick. We did lose this box area. Price was kind of trading within it, and yeah, it looks like we've lost it at this time. Not to worry though, because the S&P 500 is looking somewhat bullish. Crypto Bitcoin is looking pretty bullish as well. Even though price might come down a little bit more, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to structurally just completely, shit the bed, if that makes any sense. But let me go to the 24-minute time frame just to actually see what's going on. Okay, so we're getting significant short sellers coming in. These yellow X's are indicative of bears opening up significant positions. There was this level right here acting as support. Now it has been lost. So I would actually see this level acting as resistance until proven otherwise. So I would indicate $21 as some form of a resistance line. We could come back up to the 21.34 mark, get rejected, and then ultimately come down lower. So Altcoins are a little tricky because they're just like way less liquid than say a Bitcoin. So you can get whales manipulating the price. You can get whales kind of pushing the price below significant Fibonacci levels for them to then just buy back in and then completely pivot. So it's I'll be honest with you, altcoins are a little bit harder to track from an intraday perspective, but I mean I'm here to give it a shot, right? So from what I'm seeing here is whales are manipulating this price action right here because of the yellow X's. That's what this market liberator indicator is showing. Um, Now, two things can happen. They hold their shorts, and most likely they're trying to push price back down to the 0.32 level, or this is a fake out and we regain the 618. But ultimately, we did break out of this rising wedge, so any efforts to try to pump price will get lost due to losing this area as support, and now it will be acting as resistance, and we can either go sideways and down, etc. But we aren't going up from that area due to it getting flipped as resistance. So honestly, I'm gonna be a little bit more bearish on this one until I see maybe like a bounce off $19. We are getting divergences on the lower term time frames, but where are we at on the 2 hour? Ah, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna wait because money flow's barely turning red. Yeah, I want to see money flow starting to curl to the upside, and I would like to see a trigger wave. Uh, I'd like to see the momentum waves come up, come down, and then at that point, I would then consider buying at right there at that level. But we need pretty much all that to develop before that happens. So in terms of longing, I wouldn't feel comfortable longing. It's catching a falling knife, and you could get hurt by doing that if you're using leverage and stuff like that. So I would definitely, not financial advice, but I'm refraining from any purchases of Solana at this time. I'm realistically looking for a little bit cheaper prices, to be honest with you. And it's really not that bad. I mean, if you come all the way down, it's really like 8% lower. It's nothing that's gonna wreck anybody. But anyway, just want to say thank you so much for your time. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe this to your friends if you think it's fruitful and valuable. Also, yeah, I just appreciate all the comments and stuff, and it really does give me more of a motivation to, actually do this on a consistent basis with positive feedback. So I just want to say for everyone who's giving me that positive feedback, thank you. And yeah, I just want to say thank you for your time. Have a great rest of the weekend, and I'll be in touch. Peace. Bye-bye.